Pickup trucks are supposed to be the hottest vehicles on the market. Yet right now, dealers are practically throwing keys at buyers just to clear space on the lot. Some of these trucks were hyped as game changers, others tried to reinvent the wheel, and a few were simply dead on arrival. So which trucks landed on the please take it list? Buckle up, because some of these flops will shock you, and others will make you wonder how they ever hit the road. Ram 2500, 2025. On paper, the Ram 2500 should be a powerhouse. A heavy-duty machine that can tow just about anything. It has the reputation of being built for serious work. But here's the ugly truth. It's the slowest-selling pickup in America right now. Dealers are watching them collect dust for over 120 days before anyone bites, which is brutal in a market where trucks are supposed to move fast. The problem? Competition left it behind. Ford Super Duty and Chevy Silverado HD rolled out updates with modern interiors, smarter towing features, and sharper designs. Ram stuck with good enough. Add in rising prices, with high trims crossing into luxury SUV territory, and customers start asking, why pay more for less? Reliability also haunts the 2500. Frequent recalls for powertrain and electrical issues shake buyer confidence. And when you're asking north of $70,000 for a workhorse, people expect bulletproof performance. Even longtime Ram loyalists are hesitating, and without that loyalty, dealerships are stuck offering cashback deals and trade-in bribes just to move stock. The Ram 2500 is living proof that being strong isn't enough. Buyers want confidence, tech, and value, and until Ram delivers that, these heavyweights will keep sitting unwanted under dealership lights. Ram 1500, 2024, 2025. Once a fan favorite for its smooth ride and upscale interior, the Ram 1500 is now sitting in the danger zone. Why? Because Ram killed its most beloved feature, the legendary Hemi V8. In 2025, buyers show up expecting that roaring engine, only to be told it's gone, replaced with a turbocharged inline-six that feels soulless compared to tradition. Truck buyers are emotional. They don't just want horsepower, they want identity. And the Hemi gave the Ram 1500 its swagger. Without it, the truck feels watered down, like a country singer switching to pop music. It might be technically fine, but fans feel betrayed. Meanwhile, rivals are pushing ahead. Ford's F-150 continues to dominate with endless trims and innovations, while Chevy leans on towing muscle and tech. Ram, by comparison, looks stagnant. Dealers are drowning in excess inventory, with some lots stacked so deep they're begging buyers to just take one. Massive rebates, 0% financing, trade-in bonuses, you name it, they're offering it. The sad part is, the Ram 1500 still has one of the nicest interiors in its class, but no one cares if the soul is missing under the hood. In a segment where loyalty is everything, one wrong move can sink you. And right now, the Ram 1500 is learning that lesson the hard way. Tesla Cybertruck, 2023 present. Few vehicles have been hyped like the Cybertruck. Stainless steel body, sharp angles, promises of bulletproof glass. It was supposed to be the future of trucks. But in the real world, it's the punchline of car memes and one of the most unwanted pickups on the road. The issues stack high. It's too big for most garages, the stainless finish scratches easily, and its wedge design looks more sci-fi prop than work truck. Practical buyers walked away instantly. Early adopters who did take the plunge were greeted with recalls, everything from sticky accelerator pedals to failing wipers. That's not exactly confidence-inspiring. Then there's the broken promise. Elon Musk once claimed the Cybertruck would start around $39,000. Today, expect to pay luxury SUV money. Combine that with range anxiety when towing and the lack of nationwide charging infrastructure. And suddenly, the future looks more like a hassle. Sales are the real nail in the coffin. Less than 50,000 units sold in its first 18 months, compared to hundreds of thousands of F-150 Lightnings and Silverado EVs. Dealers who end up with one on trade-ins often can't move them quickly. The Cybertruck proves one point crystal clear. You can't sell a gimmick to people who need a truck that works. Nissan Titan, 2025 discontinued. If there's one truck that quietly waved the white flag, it's the Nissan Titan. Introduced to take on the American big boys, Ford, Chevy, and Ram, it never stood a chance. In 2023, Nissan sold fewer than 19,000 Titans. Ford sold nearly 750,000 F-Series. That gap doesn't just hurt, it kills. The Titan's biggest issue was its identity crisis. It wasn't as rugged as Detroit's heavyweights, and it wasn't as affordable or efficient as midsize pickups. When Nissan tried to get clever with the Titan XD, a truck that was supposed to sit between light-duty and heavy-duty categories, it just confused buyers. Was it a tougher F-150 or a weaker Ram 2500? The answer was neither, which meant it had no real audience. Dealers tried everything: massive rebates, zero-down financing, bundles with extended warranties, but the Titan still sat in the corner like an unwanted kid at the dance. Nissan finally pulled the plug, announcing the Titan would be gone after 2025. The sad truth? The Titan wasn't awful. It was just invisible. And in America's cutthroat truck market, being forgettable is the same as being dead. Lincoln Blackwood, 2002. Now here's a truck that deserves its spot in the Hall of Flops. The Lincoln Blackwood was marketed as a luxury pickup, but it was a disaster from day one. Imagine trying to sell a truck with a carpeted bed. Yes, carpet. Add stainless steel trim and no four-wheel drive. And you've got a vehicle less capable than a minivan with the seats folded down. Lincoln limited the Blackwood to a single paint color, black, and priced it like a high-end SUV. Buyers laughed. Critics shredded it. And dealers? They were stuck begging anyone with a pulse to buy one. Some even joked the only thing the Blackwood was good for was hauling golf clubs. Fewer than 4,000 were sold before Lincoln killed it after just 1 year. Today, it pops up as a bizarre collectible for people who love oddities. But back in 2002, it was a nightmare for dealerships. When you strip away everything that makes a truck useful, you're left with something no one wants. The Blackwood proved that lesson the hard way. Chevrolet SSR 2003-2006. The Chevy SSR looked like it rolled straight out of a Hot Wheels package. A retractable hardtop convertible mixed with a retro-inspired pickup? Bold idea. But bold doesn't always equal good. When it hit showrooms in 2003, people stared in curiosity, then walked away. The problems were obvious. At nearly 4,700 pounds, this hot rod truck was too heavy to feel fast, even with a V8 under the hood. Its bed was tiny and oddly shaped, making it useless for real truck work. Buyers were left scratching their heads. Was it supposed to be a sports car, a cruiser, or a workhorse? In the end, it was none of the above. Dealers tried selling it as a lifestyle vehicle, but that lifestyle apparently didn't exist. Truck fans saw it as too flashy and impractical. Car enthusiasts saw it as too sluggish. Families dismissed it entirely. Even heavy discounts couldn't shake the reality that the SSR had no true audience. By 2006, GM pulled the plug. Sales never took off, and dealers who stocked them ended up begging customers with fire sale prices. Today, the SSR is remembered as one of GM's strangest miscalculations, an answer to a question no one was asking. Toyota, T100 1993-1998. Toyota wanted to break into the American full-size truck game, but the T100 stumbled from the start. Marketed as full-size, it wasn't quite big enough to compete with the Ford F-150 or Chevy Silverado. And worse, it offered no V8. That's like showing up to a heavyweight fight without gloves. American buyers expected muscle, and Toyota handed them a polite, underpowered V6. Reliability was solid, sure, but truck buyers wanted bragging rights along with durability. The T100 gave them neither. Inside, it was plain and uninspiring. The price wasn't low enough to make up for its shortcomings, and dealers quickly realized the truck just didn't move. Some lots stacked them up with discounts, but even Toyota loyalists hesitated. The T100 felt like a half-step, not a bold competitor. By 1998, Toyota admitted defeat and replaced it with the Tundra, a truck that finally learned the lesson. Today, the T100 is mostly forgotten, and for good reason. In the ruthless world of American pickups, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. International Travelette, 1975 to 1975, here's a truck that was both ahead of its time and doomed because of it. The International Travelette was the first mass-produced crew cab pickup in America. It could carry 6 adults comfortably while still offering a full bed. Sounds perfect, right? Well, not in the 50s and 60s. Back then, most people didn't see pickups as family vehicles. They were tools, not daily drivers. Buyers wanted simple workhorses, not oversized crew cabs with extra doors. International Harvester lacked the dealership presence to convince people otherwise, and Ford and Chevy dominated the space. Even though the Travelette had rugged engines and serious towing capability, it never became mainstream. When the 1973 oil crisis hit, thirsty trucks like this became even harder to sell. Dealers struggled to find buyers, often cutting steep deals just to get them off the lot. Today, the Travelette is seen as a quirky collectible and a what-if story. If it had launched 20 years later, it might have been a hit. Instead, it remains proof that timing can make or break a truck. Dodge Dakota. 1987 to 2011. The Dodge Dakota once had a sweet spot. It was bigger than compact trucks like the Toyota Tacoma, but smaller than full-size pickups. Buyers loved that middle ground, at least for a while. But by the late 2000s, the Dakota had lost its way. Full-size trucks were getting more efficient, while mid-size models became sharper and cheaper. The Dakota ballooned in size and price, drifting out of the niche that made it special. Add reliability issues, especially with transmissions, and buyers lost confidence fast. Dealers were stuck. Incentives piled high, but customers either upgraded to a Ram 1500 or downsized to a Tacoma. The Dakota sat unwanted, a truck without a home. In 2011, Dodge finally pulled the plug. What's sad is that the Dakota could have thrived if it had stayed true to its roots. Instead, it drifted, lost its audience, and ended up as another truck dealers couldn't wait to get rid of. Electric pickups, 2020. The industry said electric trucks were the future. Buyers? Not so much, at least not yet. EV pickups like the Ford Lightning, Chevy Silverado EV, Rivian R1T, and GMC Hummer EV are stacking up at dealerships right now. The issues are clear. First, price. Most of these trucks cost upwards of $70,000, and that's before dealer markups. Then, there's practicality. Range drops dramatically when towing, which defeats the purpose of buying a truck in the first place. Add in patchy charging infrastructure, especially in rural areas, and customers get cold feet. Even early adopters are backing off. Reports show unsold EV trucks sitting on lots for months. Dealers are dangling rebates and cutting deals, but buyers are wary. They want the convenience and toughness of gas or diesel, not the anxiety of hunting for a charging station. Make no mistake, EV trucks might dominate someday. But right now, they're the problem children of dealership lots. Until range, price, and infrastructure improve, dealers will keep begging you to take one off their hands. Dodge Ram Warlock, 1976, 1979. In the late 70s, Dodge rolled out something they called adult toys, a wild lineup of trucks meant to capture attention. Among them was the Dodge Warlock, a truck that looked like it was built for a fantasy convention instead of a work site. With gold-painted wheels, wood trim on the bed, pinstriping, and even a name straight out of a Dungeons & Dragons session, the Warlock was all flash and little function. Buyers loved the style at first, but when it came down to real truck duty, the Warlock couldn't back it up. It had plenty of V8 options, sure, but it was heavy, thirsty, and too expensive compared to more practical trucks from Ford and Chevy. In an era when people were tightening belts after the oil crisis, a flashy truck that guzzled fuel was a tough sell. Dealers soon realized most buyers looked, laughed, and walked away. Warlocks ended up sitting unsold, and Dodge never revealed exact production numbers, likely because they were embarrassingly low. Today, the few survivors are quirky collector pieces, but back in the late 70s, they were trucks nobody wanted to take home. Chevrolet Avalanche, 2001 to 2013. The Chevy Avalanche was supposed to be revolutionary, a full-size SUV with a bed that could expand by dropping the rear seats. It looked bold, offered versatility, and came with plenty of marketing hype. But here's the problem: in trying to be both an SUV and a truck, it didn't really succeed as either. The styling was polarizing, with its chunky plastic body cladding earning plenty of jokes. Some called it futuristic, others called it downright ugly. And while the convertible bed concept sounded clever, most buyers found it unnecessary. If you wanted an SUV, you bought a Suburban. If you wanted a truck, you bought a Silverado. The Avalanche floated in the awkward middle, and dealers struggled to move them after the initial wave of curiosity faded. GM kept it alive for over a decade, but sales never matched expectations. By the time it was discontinued in 2013, the Avalanche had cemented itself as an ambitious idea that never really clicked. Today, you'll see a few die-hard fans who love the unique versatility. But for most buyers, the Avalanche was just another overhyped experiment that dealers begged people to take off their hands. Honda Ridgeline. First generation, 2006 to 2014. Honda is known for reliability and smart engineering, but when it entered the pickup market with the first Ridgeline, buyers didn't know what to make of it. With its unibody construction, car-like handling, and unusual styling, it looked more like an oversized crossover with a bed than a true truck. The Ridgeline actually drove well and had clever features like an in-bed trunk, but traditional truck buyers scoffed. It lacked the rugged frame, towing capacity, and aggressive styling that defined American pickups. When truck culture thrives on image, perception is everything, and the Ridgeline didn't look the part. Dealers quickly saw resistance. Sales lagged, with many Ridgelines lingering unsold. Honda fans who trusted the brand gave it a chance, but hardcore truck buyers wouldn't touch it. Discounts piled up, but the stigma stuck. The Ridgeline wasn't a real truck. The model eventually evolved and found a modest niche in later generations, but that first run is remembered as one of the most unwanted trucks of its era. Sometimes being different works. For the Ridgeline, it almost tanked the entire experiment. GMC Canyon 2015 to 2020. The GMC Canyon was marketed as the stylish cousin of the Chevy Colorado, offering a more upscale midsize pickup option. Sounds good, right? But the execution left a lot to be desired in certain model years, and dealers felt the pain. Buyers complained about poor reliability, everything from electrical glitches to transmission problems. Add in underwhelming interiors that didn't live up to the premium branding, and suddenly the Canyon looked like overpriced mediocrity. At the same time, competitors like the Toyota Tacoma and Ford Ranger were dominating the midsize market with stronger reputations for toughness and resale value. The Canyon, despite being newer, couldn't shake its problems. Dealerships had to throw in massive incentives, but even then, many sat for months before selling. The lesson? You can't just slap a GMC badge and a higher price tag on a Chevy Colorado and expect people to bite. Truck buyers are too savvy for that. The Canyon became yet another example of dealers practically begging customers to take one home. Ford Ranchero, 1970-1979. The Ford Ranchero started as a clever idea, a car with a truck bed. Back in the 50s and 60s, it actually worked, appealing to people who wanted sedan comfort with a dash of utility. But by the 1970s, the magic had worn off. Buyers no longer wanted car-based haulers. They wanted bigger, tougher, purpose-built trucks. The Ranchero, built on platforms like the Ford Torino, began to look like a gimmick. It had sleek lines and even muscle-inspired trims like the Ranchero GT. But when stacked against the rising popularity of the F-Series, it felt out of step. Truck culture was shifting, and utility mattered more than style. Ford tried to keep it relevant with more power and flash. But the core problem remained. It wasn't a real truck in the eyes of most buyers. By the late 70s, Rancheros were piling up on dealer lots. Customers were walking right past them to buy traditional pickups, leaving dealers, desperate to move stock. Discounts, bundles, incentives, you name it, they tried it. But the audience had moved on. Ford finally pulled the plug in 1979, quietly ending the experiment. Today, the Ranchero is remembered as a quirky collectible, a reminder of an era when car-truck mashups briefly captured attention. But in its final decade, it was the poster child for a vehicle no one wanted. A once clever idea that simply outlived its time. There you have it. 15 pickup trucks that dealers would have gift-wrapped if it meant clearing the lot. From futuristic flops to luxury missteps and hybrids that confused everyone, these trucks prove one thing. The market is unforgiving. A single wrong move, and even a big brand can end up with a disaster on wheels. Which of these trucks do you think deserved better, and which ones were doomed from the start? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and buckle up, because the next list might shock you even more.